Present.
Here.
Lori Munster.
Here.
Present.
Thank you, everyone. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everybody had a chance to look at our agenda this evening?
Yeah, I would actually, well, I'd like to ask that item, consent agenda F3 be pulled off for discussion.
Consent agenda item F3 be pulled off.
The Columbia Safe
for
Room additional.
the Columbia Safe Room additional subsurface investigation.
Yes.
For discussion.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Derek. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as amended by removing item F3 from the consent agenda. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. That moves us to celebrations. So are those behind me here, Eric? Awesome. We're off to the races. Cameron Ledford decided to take up sports last year with the support and encouragement of her friends and family. Cameron is confined to a wheelchair, but that did not stop her from making the SMS track team and becoming a thrower and sprinter. The Disabled Athletes Sport Association in St. Louis helped to make sure Cameron's needs were met. She was racing using a 30-year-old racing chair that had been designed for someone else. Racing chairs are extremely expensive, but a group of students from Joplin High School and surrounding communities, as well as Shane Munn, pastor of one church, led the charge to raise funds for the wheelchair Cameron needs to continue to be a successful sprinter and inspiration to other athletes. Kudos to Joplin High School and certainly to Cameron. Messing with science. Joplin High School science research students held their first science camp with a group of 80 fifth grade students at Cecil Floyd last week. The research students engaged the fifth graders with experiments relating to chemical and physical changes, reactions, and states of matter. The Joplin High School students' interactive demonstrations included making ice cream with liquid nitrogen, concocting monster toothpaste, inflating giant bubbles with dry ice and soap, and watching baking soda vinegar reactions. Sounds like fun. Ready to roll. Joplin Schools is one of 5 school districts in Southwest Missouri to receive grants from the Missouri Clean Diesel Program and the Volkswagen Trust to help buy more efficient school buses. Joplin Schools grant will pay 25% of the cost to replace 3 old buses. The new 71 passenger buses will have clean diesel engines, taller seats for improved safety, and stop arms on both sides of the bus to stop traffic. Taking teamwork by the horns. The Joplin High School freshman class participated in an all-day team building event, the Gauntlet, last week with their transitions class and fusion leaders. The objectives of the Gauntlet include combat bullying and cliques, encourage students to get involved in extracurricular activities, commit freshmen to graduation on time, helping the class of 2022 commit to success by working hard, surrounding themselves with the right people, and utilizing community resources. That's it for this evening's celebrations. We've got policy committee updates. Does Deborah or Jennifer or Brent have an update for that policy committee?
At this point, the updates we're getting are mainly statutory changes to our policies. There came down a, what would you say, I guess it was going to be on our agenda last month, Mindy, right? That we had to review all of the policies and have the board president sign off on all of our policies for them to be effective. But then there was
That case was overturned.
Right.
So that's no longer precedent. So,
right. But so we've started going through and looking at our policies, any that had not been reviewed previously. So we're working through a lot of those. So we may have a lot of policies coming through in the future, just that because we're just kind of reviewing old ones, but the ones that are on here tonight are just statutory changes. So.
Thank you, Jennifer. Does anybody have anything else? Thank you. Safety and Security Committee, Lori or Dr. Lori?
I'll share.
Great,
yeah, we had a great meeting. A lot of important topics. One of our focuses as the Safety Committee is to improve the safety at our elementary schools by placing cameras in all of our elementary schools. So we've been looking at that. Jim Hounshell had 3 different options for us that he shared, all with different levels of adequacy. And we want to get the same program for all of our elementary schools. So that's something we're looking at. Of course, funding is a little bit of a challenge. They're not cheap. So we're maybe looking at the foundation to help us out with that.
well, and I think it's important to mention at this time that they have responded, and
Awesome.
you were at that meeting, and so they will start engaging in a campaign to raise money to help with student safety and
That's
the
great.
surveillance cameras, and we really appreciate our foundation
Yes.
seeing the importance of that.
Absolutely. That's good news. Glad to hear that. We also talked about getting radios that are consistent in all of the schools as well for emergency and crisis communications. Like have one radio. We call it the what was your name for it? The bat phone or something. Yeah. To have for emergency communication, if so that all the principals can hear the same thing, and you're not interfering with other frequencies, and it's not getting messed up that way. So we're also looking at that and have a couple of options for that. Then there was some discussion about the lockdown that we had at Irving and some of the surrounding schools when they had the shooting at the motel across the street, and some of the confusion that caused for some parents because communication went out district-wide, which I thought was wonderful. I think it needed to go out district-wide. But I think some parents were concerned maybe they didn't hear that it was only at Irving or Cecil Floyd and were concerned. Plus, there were some students at the high school that were concerned because they heard there was a lockdown, and of course rumors fly rampant, and they're hearing, oh, kids are getting shot, and even though that wasn't true, that's what they're hearing because of rumors. So trying to improve that process of getting that communication out, which I want to commend our staff. I thought did a great job getting communication out, but there are some ways that we can improve on that. So we had a couple of students there at our meeting that were sharing ideas as well. And then Jim Hounshell discussed having some student forums at the middle schools and the high schools. And forgive me for looking at my phone, that's where my notes are, as a part of his approach for working on goals for improvement for safety at all the schools. So it was a good meeting.
Thank you, Lori. Superintendent's data report.
Dr. Langford has the health and dental reports as well as financial statements.
Eric's put the health and dental report, and I just might make 2 or 3 comments about this because if you remember, we transitioned from one dental plan to another, effective October the 1st. So, for instance, on the health side, if you would compare, and I always go back and look at the prior year to see how we're trending, and it kind of gives me a good idea. But if you compare the amount of revenue for our health fund this year compared to last year, we're down $73,000 in revenue. Well, it's not because of a lesser participation, because actually participation is greater than we had on the plan, but we have a lower premium. So as a result, if you did that comparison, which I doubt that you did, but I always do, the $490,000 a year ago was $563,000. Now, I am always pleased to, if you look, there's $9,780 that was earned in interest. So we invest that money. And in the Thursday report, I have a little segment about our investment practice, and it's really gone well for us. And if you look at the expenditures for this month a year ago, and it's not unusual, they'd be a little bit higher because sometimes people defer elective procedures till summertime and things of this nature. But we had 463,000. Last year it was 450,000. So that's good. I mean, we're really in the same ballpark. A year ago, if you look at the balance that we had in the health and dental fund, 551,000, or the health fund, 5,551,000. A year ago, that number was 3,650,000. So we had a good year that we accrued additional fund balances above what we had last year, just under $2 million. And then if you look there, it talks about the ending cash balance, and we put it in bold, does not reflect health claims incurred but not yet paid. And in the past, the habit was what was pending at that time. That number, if you look at it back 2 years ago, was $1 million. So that $1 million went through the next 11 reports. Last year, I think it was 500 and some thousand because we had fewer out. Really, that became a meaningless number. So we just want everybody to remind that we don't know what the claims are till we see the bills because there's a lot of privacy with health, as it should be. So just bear in mind, whatever the balance is, that there are bills that we don't know about that are going to be coming our way. So that is just some information on that. And then if you would take a look on item 3, which is the dental care, if you would look at the amount of premiums paid this year, or the revenues, that's $28,441. Last year, it was only $10,000. If you remember, we upgraded the dental plan last year. And we're actually paying more, and everybody's covered. We will no longer, next month, this will read differently because we will be in the first month of the first year. We won't be talking about claims paid. We're not going to be paying claims. Here, after, we're going to be paying the premiums. And then whatever they pay is their business. We don't know. But there is a fund balance of $423,000. And by the way, we did earn a little interest. We mentioned that 2 or 3 months ago that we're earning interest in there, $700, but that helps extend the life of that fund. And when this decision was made to switch the health and dental claim, it was made based on the fact that premium would be higher, the benefits would be better, and that we would utilize that $423,000 over 8 to 10 years. That's what's projected. If you had an annual increase of 7%, that's what it would take. So that will read just a little bit differently last year. But overall, we're moving into now this this new iteration of both the health and dental. And so I just thought I'd make some more than normal comments about that. But we're positive and optimistic, and the most important thing is we just hope everybody is healthy.
Amen.
Okay, you want to go to the financial statement? Again, the financial statement, I always try to do some comparison of it. We could talk a whole lot about that, but the most significant piece of information that I believe that we have to share with you is that single page. You do get all of the bill, all of the financial information. The way we're doing it now, instead of it being more pages, we were able to reduce that. But if you would take this page, Eric's the one we're looking at, the comparison of this year to last year. If we take a look at that, we're comparing both revenues and expenses to the prior year. You would take a look. Our local, for some reason, is up just a little bit. Of course, we have our tax money and what have you come in differently, and most of these are delinquent taxes, but we do have local money that's come in. Our state money, there would be a significant $5.8 million, whereas a year ago it was $4.6 million. Bear in mind, we got a $1.5 million one-time deal. It helped us pay off these bonds due to the damage that was done with the tornado. So that is why that number is greater. Federal is down significantly, but again, I remind you that the early childhood, the grant money that we were getting to help pay for that, that's gone. So we don't have that anymore. As the year progresses, we got a lot of FEMA money in last year, so we know right now going in that our revenue from federal is going to be much less than it was a year ago. The other, we're up, and that has a lot to do with the way Sandra's staff and collecting for the billings and we do with students served by the district who are not residents of the district. If we look on the expenditure side, just again, and I won't go through this every month, but because this thing will start taking its shape, but if we look at this and then when we get down to the bills and we share that, this really confirms what's happening in the bills you'll be seeing a little bit later on. The incidental fund is up over $400,000 compared to a year ago. Question, why? It's very simple. A year ago, our insurance, we paid monthly. This new insurance policy we had to pay it all up front. So if you back out that $300,000+, we're in very close proximity with where we've been in the past. The special fund, the teacher's fund expenditures this year are greater than last year. 2 reasons for that. One, the summer school expanded. So the bulk of the difference is because of summer school, but last month was the first month where teachers were paid on the new salary schedules where raises were given. So you will start seeing about $100,000 increase per month in the gap, widening of the gap because of the increases that went along there. And again, that's an estimated amount. Debt service is pretty well in line, except it is up $400,000. The reason for that, and we'll talk about that just a little bit more when we do the budget revisions, but we did that refunding of the bonds. We have some crossover bonds, so there are some interest. There's some interest being paid, but it's all paid out of the bond proceeds, so what have you. But our interest payments on debt service are greater, so that's why you see about that $400,000 difference there. Capital projects are less, but again, we weren't paying for the early childhood center. So I just kind of like to get my head wrapped around of why these numbers are, and I make these notes because it helps me as I think about these numbers and working with Shelley and getting this done. So I went over, again, this a little bit more, but you will see these trends. Our federal money will not be, and it's because we got quite a bit of federal money last year that we know we're not getting this year. We will see our teachers' expenditures go up all year long, and all of these are planned and budgeted for. So if you have questions, I'd be glad to respond.
Dr. Langford, I have one question. So on the revenue side, on the other, does that include the interest that we're now getting on? It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
That would be in the local fund up at the top. That's part of the difference up there.
Oh, okay.
And the other item you have is your enrollment report. And you'll see that we're down a bit in average daily membership as well as overall ADA. The good news is that our attendance percentages are looking healthier compared to this time last year. And earlier today when we broke that down by campus, I want to brag on the high school a bit because overall as a district, they're leading the charge with their average daily attendance up 3.39% compared to this time last year. So with 20 fewer kids enrolled, 54 more kids attended full-time at the high school. So that's a bright spot in an otherwise maybe not so bright report. But attendance percentages, those that we have are coming to school more, and that is good. And then the second page shows you a breakdown of class sizes across our elementaries and then our middle school and high school enrollment.
Dr. Moss, what number do we get to before we start considering like an assistant principal of a school?
I couldn't answer
there
that
a
for
certain
you.
number,
There's not
or-
a magic standard. I don't believe that the district has ever set.
Okay.
Before we do what,
We've
Lori?
had some people inquire about that in terms
an
of,
assistant principal.
since McKinley is growing.
Right, that's what I was noticing.
That's what comes to mind when you ask that
Yeah.
question,
Is
and
there
that's
well over
actually
300?
things that we have had conversations about. You can't think of McKinley alone, though, because you have to look at Soaring Heights growth. They're splitting a principal right now
They
between
are,
Soaring
okay.
and
They don't have
Stapleton.
their- okay.
So we would have to look at how does that shift look overall with our three biggest buildings. But
Okay.
it's something we've been talking about.
Is it?
Who does Soaring Heights share an AP with?
Stapleton.
I didn't realize, I thought they had their own, I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
Brenda Olds splits her time between Stapleton
Okay.
and Soaring
So they
Heights.
share her. Okay.
So we would have to take all of that into
I
consideration
know
as we
Kelsey
look at
Norman
that.
seems to be growing as well, so.
And
then
Soaring
so does
Heights-
They've
Irving
actually
has
gone
their own.
down this year.
They are? They have
Soaring
almost
Heights is
300.
Soaring Heights is going to continue to grow because there's a
Yes.
lot of building going on out there.
Yes, it is, and that's
We'd
why
have to
the
have a long-range plan for
demographer,
that.
some of the demographer studies that were approved at the last month's meeting, it's so important right now with the population shifts that we're seeing.
So does Irving have their own and Cecil Floyd has their own?
Yes.
And they
Full-time.
don't share one
Yes.
full-time? Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Moss. This evening, we do have some public comments. Mr. Hurd, if you're here this evening, please approach the microphone. Please give your name and address. Please do not identify any district personnel or student by name or by any other identifiable information. Mr. Hurd here?
Is he here?
I believe so.
Guess not.
Okay, well, we'll move on then. So we're in the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Derek. It's been moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded by Brent that we approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 3. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. So I'm going to assume that that brings us to item 3, which is the revised Columbia Safe Room additional subsurface investigation. Dr. Saketa, can you give us some information about that?
Yes, and Dave Pettit will be up here
Hi,
as
Dave.
well.
Welcome.
Basically, they went back and they did borings, and what we were told in the beginning was if they had to go deeper or do more borings, that there would be an additional cost per boring. And I believe that's what's reflected in the change. Quite honestly, I was kind of surprised it wasn't any more than that. But anyway, that's because it was quite a substantial come back or, do the job, go where it was, go the depth. And we're down to around 115, 116 feet, I believe, is where Palmerton and Parrish believe we need to be when it comes to putting the micropiles down and anchor them in so that we can solidify the bottom of the foundation there of the school.
So if I'm reading this correctly, they are looking for an additional $550?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
The original contract called for them to drill down to an anticipated depth of 115 feet. And then within their contract, once they went through whatever soil was there, once they contacted Bedrock to drill an additional 10 feet and to prove that it was good, solid bedrock. And so the aggregate of the group of borings was supposed to be at 500 feet. They fluctuated just a little bit within that, but there were 11 additional feet, so the additional footage that we're paying for is drilling in the core into the bedrock, and that was 11 additional feet. In the aggregate, we were at 511 total feet, and we had contracted for the 500, and within their signed contract was stated $50 an additional foot for the rock boring.
Thank you. Does anybody have additional questions for Mr. Pettit or Dr. Skett?
I don't. I just wanted this pulled off because I just feel like if we're doing a change order to something that we should talk about it just to be transparent so
Right.
people don't think that we're just,
Absolutely.
It doesn't
The
get
Columbia
lost
Safe Room
in-
is a big
I think
issue for the
it's-
district, and we're very concerned about getting it done, and we want to be as transparent as possible.
so that was my reason.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to approve this additional funding?
I will move that we approve the revised Columbia Safe Room additional subsurface investigation.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jennifer and Lori, for your second. Is there any additional comment? There being none, please vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. So that moves us back to our regular agenda. So we are on the prime contract change order number 18 for Crossland Construction. This is with the Joplin Early Childhood Center. Dr. Saketa.
Yeah, there's going to be a series of things that we're going to have to do, obviously, when you decide to add a kitchen to a place that's already freshly done and all things put together. And the biggest thing is, just getting started with all the work that needs to be done, the site work, and to get it prepped. So you've got electrical move, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and then also the site work. Okay.
We're coming to you this evening asking for a change order for $52,594.77. This will be for the preparatory site work to the site. It will include the preparation for the next item we're going to talk about, the electric move, but all of that entail the current layout for the electric is it runs directly, will run directly underneath the kitchen, which Empire wants to come out, but Liberty Utilities has determined that we cannot run live electric wire under that, so they are needing to move that. So a lot of this preparatory dirt work is to extend to the east the retaining wall, to regrade all that area, and then prepare and do the site work for the base of the kitchen that we'll be presenting.
Does anybody have any idea where we would be in terms of our available funds for this project?
I don't have, do you have that one right off?
I didn't mean to catch you off guard. I should have.
259. Well, the original is 259,854.26. We took off last time, we took off the Marks Nelson contract, the Hollis Miller contract, and the Smith and Boucher contract, which would be part of those funds as well. This would be toward those funds in addition to.
And it says may require budget adjustment for additional expenses. Are we going to go over?
We probably are.
Yeah,
And we're anticipating that. And it's kind of back to, if you can build this, and we're paying, what do we think, at the most, maybe 60?
For $1 we spend, we believe we'll get $4 to support that. So you consider that the building, it's a brand new
That's
building
good.
at the time it was built, now the early childhood piece, statutes in the state, and you think in the long-term investment to be able to, I would let somebody pay for 80% of my house.
To access those grant funds and do this, we still feel like it's worth it, and we can budget accordingly.
And also, the food service program runs very efficiently, and we believe that money, we will have money in that program to support that. And David and Rick and I talked about that some today, so I feel good about
In
it.
the long term, it seems like we would be saving money by having a kitchen at
Yeah.
the Joplin
Yes.
Early
Yes.
Childhood's.
Yes.
Better service.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for this discussion. Does anybody have any additional questions? Do I have a motion to approve this additional, this change order?
So moved. Oh,
Thank you, Derek. It's been moved and seconded by Lori. Is that fair, Lori? Sure. Thank you, ma'am. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this change order for the Joplin Early Childhood Center. Yeah, go ahead,
Quick
Jennifer.
question, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
So 259,854, that's what was left in the CDBG
Yes.
funds?
It wasn't left, it was additional
This is a
money
new
So that's
grant.
in
that
addition.
was offered to us.
So what was our contingency? Was there still anything left in there?
There's that we
It's
are no
depleted
longer
that?
able to tap into
Oh, okay.
the city CDBG funds. This is
Okay.
all state that was offered to us after the fact.
That's
So
why
this is
Dr.
Separate.
Langford said that this is our $1 contribution for their $4. If you look at the,
Okay, so you're estimating that the total project will be about 320,000 then,
Yes, that is
to do it?
correct.
Okay. And you have that money in your budget, Carrie, for capital, or
Well,
food
we
services, you
believe-
said? I'm sorry, food services.
Food service will have that much surplus funds
Okay.
this year, their earnings. So they're capped at how much they can carry over, so it wins for us.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
It's a unique situation compared to what we've done before. You have everything with a budget from a plan that was put together, and now we're presented with a new pot of money, thankfully. And then can we supply that need? It's extremely hard to get it to fit into that 259,000. We're doing the best we can.
Okay, well, no, as long as we have the money in a budget
Correct.
that's not, okay. Okay,
please vote.
yes.
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 Yes. So now, Dr. Scudder, we're to the relocate for existing power line for the kitchen, which was just discussed briefly, I believe.
Yeah, just pretty much discussed that. It's a necessity. There's no way around it. You know, it's been there for however long, a little over a year or whatever it was when we got things going. But to make things work and to have the kitchen over that area, we just have to get it done.
I move that we approve relocating the existing power lines.
Thank you, Lori. It's been moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the relocation of the existing power line. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, thank you. Accounts payable, declared property surplus. Dr. Scudder, we're going to stay with you.
Yes, we have 4 properties that are near the old Emerson site. They're all corner lots. They're all very narrow lots. At one time, there was a thought that we might be able to build homes on those lots, you know, with Franklin Tech, that kind of thing. We think for the time being, the way that program has evolved and everything else, those lots are sitting there. It's probably going to be quite some time, maybe a long, long time before we decide to build another house. Especially right in those locations, we're just not sure. We do have some property not too far from Joplin High School, right behind the school, if we ever want to do that, which would be closer to the school. But anyway, we just feel like at this point in time, it would be good for us to move that property as we did with those, if you remember, those ancillary lots close to the big Emerson site, as well as Emerson, and we would like to surplus those lots.
Thank you, Dr. Scudder. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Scudder regarding the surplus of those 4 lots? There is a minimum bid specified of $17,750.
And it would be a package of all 4 of them.
And that would,
together.
right,
Yes.
and for all combined,
Yes.
for them. That's a minimum. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Derek. It's been moved.
Second.
Thank you, Deborah. It's been moved and seconded that we approve these 4 lots for surplus. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Scudder. Dr. Langford, our accounts payable.
Well, we somewhat addressed it when we were talking about the financial statement. I went through and I have a bill list of $6,626,000. And again, if we compare it to last year, it's about $600,000 less than last year. But again, we weren't making big expenditures for the early childhood, which that was sort of starting to wind down by this time last year. But it really just indicates to me that the spending patterns, the utilities, the supplies that we buy, the normal day-to-day operations within that are the funds that go for teacher retirement, the district side that gets paid on that and what have you. And I feel like the bills that I reviewed, that I didn't see anything that's extraordinary, and I would recommend that we approve the payment of bills.
Thank you, Dr. Langford. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Langford regarding the accounts payable? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move we approve pay accounts payable in the amount of $6,626,129.22.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brent. It's been moved and seconded that we approve payment of our accounts receivable. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And budget adjustments, Dr. Langford.
Okay, historically, budget adjustments were done in October, and so Shelley and I have worked on this. I will say that Shelley's been very busy. We had the auditors in. They went home for 2 weeks, and then they came back, and they've wrapped up, and so we believe in November they will be here to the board to present the audit report for the year. So it has been busy. I even went in to Shelley one day. I said, Shelley, if you want to, we'll just wait till November and do this. And no, she wanted to get it done, and I'm glad we have it done because we have other things we need to do too. When I presented the budget in June, I told you that we're going to be trying to refine this budget a little bit over time. There would be budget adjustments that would be necessary because A budget's nothing more than a best guess at the time you present it, and then things change. Sometimes your revenue goes up, sometimes your expenses go up. We knew that there would be changes. So what we've done on your sheet, we're basically stating to you, and we went back and used the pattern that's been done in the past, as far as the justification. We're doing budget adjustments, which are really some inter-fund transfers, which just basically keeps the budget the same, but it moves it from one area to the other based upon things that we've discovered as we went forward. We do have some budget increases. If you remember, we had some enhancement grants. They weren't in the original budget because we didn't know that we were getting enhancement grants. So we get revenue, which somewhat offsets the expense. So there are some expenditure increases for that in the Career Technical Fund. We, with the early childhood program that we have now, 3- and 4-year-olds that are eligible for funding, we did bring in additional staff, and we're serving 80 students over there. We made some budget adjustments relative to expected cost increases of staff. We've added a few staff members, so you would see some adjustments that we have made if we really broke it down in all the numbers. But there is one significant number that's almost $1 million more than we presented originally, and really it was an oversight on my part. Not that we failed to account for that, but when we did the refunding of bonds a year ago in December, I believe it was, and there are refunding bonds, and that's what I typically have been used to, but these are crossover, which means we have to treat them. We have to pay, and I mentioned on the debt service payment, that's what I was referencing, $400,000. We're paying $400,000 twice a year, so that's just under $1 million, $974,000 that did not get added into the budget. Well, where does the money come from? Well, through the bonding package, we have $2,600,000, and that will go down because that was set aside so that when the bond call date comes, in 2022 and 2023, we will have the money to pay the interest and then call the bonds. So now what we've done with the budget adjustments, we have included both the revenue projections, the interest earnings, and then which will be less than that because we will be using some of that $2.6 million. It will be decreasing, but that was a planned decrease. We'll be using that. So if you look at the budget increase, we increased the expenditure budget based on this adjustment, but we also increased the revenue. So we increased the revised budget to $87,584,000, but we also increased the revenue as well. So we are increasing the budget, but when it's all said and done, the fund balance went up, just goes up about $120,000. We plan to come back in February. We'll have other budget adjustments that need to be made as we progress through the year. We have, for instance, this action tonight. If we have to increase that, that'll have to be reflected in the budget. There will be other things that are coming up. And we talked about the buses. Are they on the agenda tonight?
Buses?
Yeah.
Surplus
Or did we do that
buses?
last? No, the new ones we
The
bought.
grant?
No.
The new
It
ones
was
were
in the-
cited in a celebration. That's a different type of bus, but we bought the buses last
We're
week.
still last month. So anyway,
Yes,
we'll
we
have to
did.
do an adjustment for
Yeah.
that because we're going to be paying that, but we get that offset. So there will be adjustments that we haven't gotten factored into to that. So if you, Shelley has put together a budget change, and for instance, it will show you the amount of adjustments in the general fund, $292,000. In the special teachers fund, which we raised that about $500,000 to cover the additional staff that we don't know that it will take that much, but we made that much adjustment. We raised the debt service $488,000, and the capital projects $341,000 for a total of $1.6 million. But our revenue adjustments were $1.7 million. So this gives us board approval for these changes so that when the auditors come next year, that they will know that we've come before you and discussed the budget adjustments that need to be made.
Thank you, Dr. Langford. Does anybody have additional questions concerning these budget adjustments?
I'll move we approve budget adjustments.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been moved by Jennifer that we approve these adjustments.
Second.
Thank you, Deborah. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. These are complicated. Just, I mean, you know, it's
There's a lot of
sophisticated
numbers to chase around.
the way it moves around, so.
It's funny, every morning I come in and I look in the account just to make sure we haven't overspent, so we have money to cover our checks. And then I go in today and I said, Shelley, tell me where I'm wrong on this. But I was thinking we had a little more money there. Well, it's a matter of, we get some of the adjustments made, but there was some revenue that wasn't posted. So now I'm going to go home and sleep good tonight. My cash flow is just exactly where I thought it ought to be. In fact, it's a little better than I thought it ought to be.
Great.
I do the same.
Moving to item number 6, technology equity between elementary schools. Dr. Saketa, looks like
Yeah, I
Eric's
want
gonna talk
Eric to come
us.
up here and tell you a little bit about what the technology department's been working through with all the principals to make sure that all of our elementary kids get as exposed to technology along with the lessons that are put together by the teachers and also to help us with our testing program.
Well, last year, several elementaries also bought some of their own Chromebooks, and they're almost 1-to-1. Almost everybody's 2-to-1 except for a few schools. So we wanted to go through this year in like Royal Heights, West Central, and I believe it's Eastmoreland. We want to get them to at least 2-to-1 on Chromebooks. So, and then also the standardization piece, we're pulling some MacBook Airs out of there so we can use them at the high school. So I don't have to purchase student laptops at the high school for ones that are broke beyond repair or because we're not under a service warranty anymore. And they wanted Chromebooks instead, so, you know, the principals that volunteered to do that, that's what we're doing also.
Is that how we're deciding which schools get Chromebooks? Are the principals saying they want them, or is there another?
All the principals I've talked to, they want Chromebooks.
Okay.
And so when I said I need some you guys have 11-inch Mac Airs, and I could use them, you know, and I can replace them, and they said, no, I want Chromebooks, so.
So will all the schools eventually get Chromebooks?
Right now, the middle schools, except for East, because their Airs their Mac products are relatively new, and so is Irving. They're probably the only ones that won't transfer over to.
How many schools don't have them yet? I'm sorry, Jennifer.
No.
The
How many elementary
Chromebooks?
schools do not have the Chromebooks yet?
Out of the elementaries, except for Irving, I don't think. Soaring has a few, but they don't have a lot, but Irving's the only one that doesn't have any Chromebooks right now. They have a lot of MacBook Air cards.
Okay. So they can all use the Zern?
That's what I was going to ask then. With the
Yes.
math now,
This
every
is
elementary will have
in
access to
response.
Zurich.
Okay, awesome. Okay,
Good,
good
thank
deal.
you.
All right. Well, I will make a motion that we approve this
I'll
buying and
second that.
purchasing the Chromebooks.
Thank you, Lori and
Thank you
Debbie.
for
It's been
doing
moved
that.
and seconded that we approve, which item number?
Six. Number
Thank you.
six.
Number 6, technology equity between elementary schools.
I do have one question.
Please, go ahead.
So at the other schools, the principals had to designate their own funds for them, but now your department is picking up for those other schools. Do they just not have the funds to do it, or?
It was their title funds, and some of them used them to buy devices, and some used it for other areas. I'm not really sure.
By teachers.
Some of them
Yeah,
use them for
no, I just-
like a para or a teacher and like for reading supplement and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
just they kind of made some choices, but
I just was wondering.
Quite a bit of money based on their free reduced lunch count, so above what their staff costed for Title I, so they were able to use it to buy things like that.
Yeah, I just was wondering if the principals paid for theirs, now the other schools are getting them, is that cool with, or are we gonna hear, well, we had to buy our own.
Well,
They got-
and,
You know what I'm just.
some of the people that offered up their MacBook Airs, I doubled their account that they gave us to, so.
That they're.
And those were some of the ones that had already bought some Chromebooks, and they were just trying to get finish up getting over with.
I just want to make sure we're being equitable, that all the schools are getting, and I realize some don't have the funds that the others do too, so I
The
realize that.
Title I allocations are heavily based on free and reduced lunch rate, and obviously some of our schools have higher than others, so they
Right.
get more per student.
Right.
And you're right, there were some choices made over the years that now, with the ZERN implementation, not only equity from a teacher's perspective, but we have to look at equity for our students. And can they access the full curriculum if we don't do that? And so it's time that we just true them up.
Okay.
The motion is on the floor. I ask that you vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Dr. Saketa. Policies for first reading, Dr. Moss?
Yes, as Jennifer shared earlier, we have some policies for first reading, and you'll see on your summary that these are in response to federal and state legislation. And the fiscal year one, the first one on there, I believe is a response to one of our reviews when the Lehman case was still in effect. And so we've added just a statement in how we spend our money.
Shall we take these one at a time or all together? All together? Dr. Langford, did you have a policy concerning policy DBB, or fiscal year? I don't know if you're ready for that question or not.
Well, no.
It's in our materials.
Yeah, but all those are the statutory language. And so when Jennifer had spoken earlier about the reviews that had been done, Pat had gone back and looked at a lot of those particular things that the board had not necessarily acted on or reviewed, but had been adopted in the process. So basically, it's statutory language.
Yeah, it might be good for me to state that these revisions are drafted by the Missouri School Boards Association and we are members of that group, and so they draft language to keep us in line with current
Correct.
laws. And so I believe that we benefit greatly from our membership in that association. And so each of these policies have been amended to reflect, just as you said, Dr. Langford, current changes. I've got names next to policies, and I was just going to call folks
No, that's
out.
fine. That's
make
fine.
sure that they have an opportunity. You're still up to bat on travel expenses. That's the next one. And again,
Well, that one has to do with, how we reimburse. It has to do with the approval process. I believe there was even something in there about Board of Education policy. So it just relates to the particular policy about reimbursing for travel expenses.
the highlighted language in this particular revision does deal with that we will not reimburse an employee for relocation travel expenses unless such
That's
expenses
correct.
are included as part of the employee's benefit
Right.
package as approved by the board.
That's correct. That's right.
So that's the highlight of that change. Not sure how exciting any of that is, just letting folks know what we're doing. And Dr. Gilbreth, virtual courses?
Yeah, virtual courses, that comes about from the Senate Bill 603 and House Bill 1606 that would allow students the opportunity to take an online course. And through DESE, that's the MOCAP, or the Missouri Course Access Program. And that's the one that has been put forward, but school districts are looking at their own programs. We have the Edgenuity, Springfield has their own program and different, but anyway, it's just stating that if a student wants the opportunity to take an online course, that we would afford them that opportunity unless we have a reasonable reason for not offering that, and then there's an appeal process. But
And this is a new policy as opposed to a revised
that's
policy.
correct. It is
so.
a new policy, yeah.
And our last is non-traditional instruction options, again with Dr. Gilbreth. There's several of those, it seemed like.
Yeah, the piece that's really been added to this one is that the non-traditional piece would be the addition of the virtual school.
Okay.
The students having the opportunity to take an online class. That's kind of the piece that's been added to this one. Other than that, it's off-campus opportunities and different things. Can they go out and could I go do a special project and get credit from that? Different things like that. But then the other piece is for this one is that virtual online. And it talks about the language of schools having to accept credit that kids have successfully completed an online course. So that's basically the addition to that one.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. So does anybody have any questions about these new policies that we're reading for a second time? Accept a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Derek. It's been moved. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brian. It's been moved and seconded that we approve these policies, for first reading. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Plus deltas, Dr. Moss?
I'd like to submit a plus, reflecting back to the expenditures for the site preparation work at Joplin Early Childhood. And I've heard Dr. Langford mention this many times, is that through careful budgeting, and I want to brag on food service and the good job that they do, careful spending, we have balances and money available that we can access these opportunities and look at, okay, it may cost us an extra $1, but we're going to get something great in return. And it's because of the good work of the people around this table, as well as all of our other faculty and staff, that allows us to have those opportunities. So I want to brag on them a little bit, and that we can access that.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else got pluses or deltas?
It's not even 8 o'clock.
That's because you guys are so fast.
No, it's a
So
problem.
moved.
This was
I'll brag on Mindy and Eric for listening to the concern we had about the new math and realizing that we had inequities in some schools where children weren't having the same opportunities to practice that math and righting that wrong, even though it was not an intentional wrong, but taking care of the kids. So thank you.
Great. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, I'll second.
Deborah and Derek, thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
One of these days I'm going to be staying on that adjournment.